David Reid.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for being with us today. So, you had 14 years in opposition, you've been in post for a year now. What we've seen throughout the year is you reduced ODA spend from 0.5 down to 0.3, but I'm still not hearing any cohesive vision for where you want to go. Now, you said you'll go do a line-by-line scrutiny and that this will be coming out in the next couple of months, but I'm still not hearing it. What's been happening for the last year? I think to follow on from that, what we do know is that a significant chunk of that money that will be left will be going to the Home Office to be spent on asylum hotels. What view do you have of that being a car-side commitment? We've obviously heard the announcement from the government that it will be ending by the end of this Parliament. What process and what equity to come up with this vision? All we've seen is a reduction, and going to the question now around asylum hotels, a large chunk of what is left is going to the Home Office.
Well, you know that we inherited a situation that we did not support, where a lion's share of development spend was being spent in country. Since we've come to office, less money is being spent in country. My colleagues in the Home Office, and led by Yvette Cooper, have been able to reduce, I think, from 83% to 77%, am I right?
So we said that it's going to go down to 0% by 2029. So what's that process?
Can I finish the point, please,
of course.
Mr. Reid? We have reduced the numbers in a year being spent on hotels that we inherited from the Tories. We've reduced the numbers, and we've got a deal from the Treasury that means that we now have stability in the development budget, and we will not be affected by decisions made in relation to hotels going forward. That's what's been achieved under this government, because the last government did not put it on.
And the government's saying that that's going to be reduced down to 0 by the end of this Parliament, 2029. Where do you envisage people that will come here illegally? Where will they go?
That gets us into a much lengthier discussion that you should probably make to the Home Secretary, not to me.
But it's split equity across the FCDO.
It's not a split equity. I've just said we've now got stability.
Okay, I would disagree heavily with that.
That was the deal that I got in the spending review, because the last government did not strike that deal. I got that deal to give ODA spending stability, for us not to be at the mercy of asylum spend. I got that deal. But yes, it is the case that the Home Secretary now has to reduce the numbers. Our diplomats and development experts play in my department, so there's a lot that we contribute to this agenda to bring down the numbers. Yes.
Okay, and so final question on that. So the number will go down to 0% in asylum hotels, and the approach that you just laid out will make sure that no one comes here illegally anymore and that no one will be housed here. Is that your points? So purely on return deals and working upstream, that's going to be enough?
If I may, Mr. Reid, I think the implication of your question is a soundbite. I don't think
it is. This is a very serious issue.
I don't think the government's saying that there will be 0 people.
Okay, so where will the people go then?
That's not what I'm saying. But you know as well as I do that we have brought the numbers down in the last year. You know that the last government left a bloating bill that was rising. You know our commitments to deal with irregular migration. You know the responsibilities that my department has in relation to returns, in relation to work upstream. I announced migration sanctions.
I've been quite clear on now that the FCDO has moved to the spender of last resort. Is if the numbers come down and the spend on asylum comes down faster than expected, does that money definitely come back to the ODA budget? Like, what's the agreement on that with the Home Office or Treasury?
It doesn't automatically come back to us. The price for stability is that I accepted that it wouldn't automatically come back to us, but I have made it clear to the committee that I would be making the case for increased spend, and making the case for increased spend, particularly in relation to development. You have that as my commitment, and I think you would be, and I would hope that any future Foreign Secretary, that was their undertaking, and they sought to do that. And you heard from the Prime Minister when we made the change following increased defence spending, that we were absolutely clear that we were not departing on our commitments to development spend. We do want to see it rise. as the fiscal circumstances allow, and so of course I will be making that case in future spending and fiscal occasions.
Monica. Foreign Secretary, on what you've just said, the commitment, therefore, by the British government to ODA, overseas development spent overseas in 27-28, as ICAI have pointed out, is 0.24%. So it's not 0.3%, it's 0.24%. That's the projection.
I saw this yesterday and I just don't recognise those numbers. I think ICAI are having to make a call on how they see refugee numbers rising or falling. What I'm going on is that the Home Secretary has brought those numbers down in the last year. I recognise there's more to do.